You can see, ooh, nope. Hey, I'm maybe Burke, and you're watching Makeup for Lost Time. This is my series for trans women and other people who feel like they missed a few classes when it came to learning about makeup. And today we're going to talk about color correcting, which there's quite a few ways to do. Now, color correcting when it comes to makeup is used to describe basically neutralizing some unwanted color on the face. Or body. You can color correct anywhere, I guess. I personally don't love the phrase color correcting because I feel like the term correcting implies that there's a problem that needs to be fixed, and I try to be intentional with my language around how I use makeup. And so I like to think of it as just neutralizing. Now, there's obviously a couple of different ways we can color correct, and using the color wheel is going to be helpful in determining how we're going to neutralize different types of color. So when we're looking at colors like this, if I have redness on my face that I want to get rid of before I lay down any foundation, based on the color wheel, green is the opposite of red. So I'm going to use that green to help cancel out the redness. I don't usually deal with a lot of redness, but I've had some irritation over here recently, and you'll see it's light. It's not like a pure red. And so using like a mint green is going to counterbalance that shade of red. The shade of what you're trying to get rid of is really important when it comes to this neutralization, and the shade that you are. If you're dealing with like circles under your eyes, those usually have like a blue undertone, and so you're actually going to want to go in with a peach like this to help neutralize that. But if you have darker skin than I do, you might actually want to go with an orange or even deeper than that. So making sure you have the right color for what you're trying to neutralize is just as important as finding the right color for you. The most common color correctors are usually used for under the eyes, and that same color can usually be used if you grow facial hair and you want to cover up a 5 o'clock shadow. And so a lot of brands make color correctors for those purposes, for like under the eyes and or for your stubble. And based on your skin tone and how deep your skin is, it'll determine how deep a color corrector you get. So today I do have a bit of irritation here. So let's see if I take a little bit of this green and neutralize that redness. Now obviously we don't want to have a big green dot on my face, but I'm just going to tap it in, and I'm using a brush here so that I can get a nice little soft blend, and I'm gonna let that sit there, and I'm gonna set it with some powder. This makes sure that when I go to put foundation over that spot, the green doesn't mix in with my foundation and end up all over. So now if I take some foundation, you don't see the green and you don't see the red. And so now we're gonna look at my under eyes, and I've done this before on social media, and I've been told that I don't have very dark circles under my eyes to begin with, but I also have good lighting. You can see when I have less strong lighting, you can see there's some interesting coloration going on under my eyes. And so while you might think that I don't have the strongest bags under my eyes, the reality is sometimes when I was putting on concealer, I was realizing that I was seeing kind of like a grayness coming through from under my concealer. And so neutralizing the bags under my eyes helps to reduce that grayness. So like I said, the color that you're using to neutralize should reflect the color that you are trying to neutralize and the color of your skin. So I have this peach that's similarly light to me, but is going to cancel out that blue pigment under my eyes. And so I'm going to take this on the back of my hand. And so the same thing we did before, I'm just going to take this right onto where I have these dark circles. And I'm not actually treating this like I would a typical concealer and like worry about getting coverage under my full under eye. I'm keeping it central to where that color is. I'm only going to cover the color I want to neutralize. Now, I don't know if you can tell a difference because I was told last time I did this that I didn't start out with dark circles, but in person, I can definitely see a lot of darkness under this eye, and I don't see it under this eye. Now, while this does the job And I could set this and throw some concealer on. There's actually another color corrector that I've really been loving recently that might be a little less natural looking, but it really gives me the brightness that I'm looking for under my eyes. And that's actually using yellow, which cancels out purples, but I find that this one in particular is such a light color that it also gives like a really lifting and brightening effect under my eyes. And honestly, these things are like $5, so it was worth trying out, but I really love what it's been doing. And so same thing, I'm just gonna place that over the areas that I have dark circles. And you can see already, this doesn't neutralize it necessarily and looks a lot more obvious and less natural. So I'm only going to use this when I want what might be a more editorial look, something that might be a little more creative. I'm not necessarily going to use this one if I'm going for a natural glam. And I'm going all the way under my eye when I use these, but that's because my bags do go all the way. If your bags stop like in the center of your eye, only cover where you have darkness. Don't keep going if there's nothing to cover. And so again, with these, I'm going to go set them with just a little bit of loose powder. And now we can see a huge difference where you really see the yellow poking through here. But once I put a concealer over it, you're not going to notice it anymore. So since that is set in place, I'm going to tap in my concealer. And the reason I really like neutralizing under my eyes is because then I can use less concealer. Because I've got a lot of lines going on under there. So the less product I can use, the better off I'll be. Now, I have paid a lot of money to make sure that I don't grow facial hair anymore. But if I were trying to cover up stubble, I would be using the same color. Colors like this are intended for people with much darker skin than me and helps to neutralize on their skin tone. But if you feel like that color is still poking through your color corrector, you can use more coverage down here because it's not like under our eyes where the skin is so thin. But down here, we're going to make sure we do that same thing and set the color corrector in place so that it doesn't move. So please don't think that using a darker corrector is going to be more effective if you have light skin, because this side is really easy for me to cover. But this side's going to take more foundation and more effort because the pigment underneath is too dark for me. So if you want more coverage, use more coverage, not more color. Obviously, I'm speaking to other light-skinned people. If you are deeper than me, you're going to need the deeper color. And if you're struggling to get the neutralizing results that you want from your color corrector, make sure what you're neutralizing is fully covered before you lay the foundation down. Try using a foundation powder that has pigment to it, not just a translucent powder. And make sure your end result is matching the rest of your skin. Now, you might have noticed while I was doing this that this foundation doesn't match my face exactly. And maybe we should go into color correcting foundations too. There's so much fun you can have with color! Now, if you've watched my other videos and you know about my approach to makeup, you know that I don't think we need to be correcting anything. I don't think we need makeup at all. But I genuinely love using makeup as a form of expression. And I like sharing tips and tricks to help you feel comfortable with yours. So these are tips to neutralize if you don't like the way that certain colors poke through your makeup. Just because they're called color correctors doesn't mean it's the correct way to do your makeup. And I think some stubble poking through is great, if that makes you comfortable. Do your makeup for you, because we're just making up for lost time.